Hey, On Your Mark community. I am really excited for this episode of our weekly live show because we are talking all about social selling 101 for online business owners. So, on your mark, get set, and listen. All right. So, one of the biggest things that I think so many online business owners are not taking advantage of in today's market is social selling. And social selling can be defined in a variety of different ways. But at the end of the day, the basic definition of social selling is having intentional conversations to engage your ideal prospects and clients in an online setting. And let me tell you, this is one of the most effective ways to land clients and to build relationships. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions that I hear about social selling is that social selling boils down to your social media content and your social media advertising. And I want to make a very, very clear distinction that there is a huge difference between these two areas. Because if you think about it, advertising is really at the top of the marketing funnel. Advertising is helping get people into your pipeline. It's helping attract the leads. It's helping get people into your ecosystem so that you can sell them socially. This is the middle part of the funnel. And then the bottom of the funnel is your social media content, right? Social selling, I like to use as this gap in the overall marketing funnel that's getting people from coming into your ecosystem to converting and being reminded by your content of what it is that you do to get them down the line. And so think of it, if your marketing ecosystem is a river, think of your advertising as basically the injection of water or the waterfall or whatever that source is to get people. That's what advertising does. Social selling is the river that eventually gets to either where the dam is, where the water stops, right? And that is kind of where your content goes to nurture people and get them in. Social selling is the current that allows people to continue coming and to stay. Like, let's say there's a detour, or they hit something in the river, and then maybe there's a stick in the way, right? Or a huge tree that's fallen and it impedes the flow of different things down the river. Well, social selling comes in and sees where that tree is maybe fallen, picks it up, and makes sure that that current continues to flow smoothly. So, that is the role that social selling takes in your online business. So, why is it important? Well, it's important because social selling is what's going to allow you to engage with your ideal prospects or clients and to build relationships with them so that they know, like, and trust you enough to buy. It is what differentiates a company from someone that's just showing strategic advertisements to someone that actually cares and invests and goes the extra mile. Because at the end of the day, your social selling is the differentiator that's going to allow your ideal clients and customers to flock to you. So, how does it work? Okay, now that we kind of know what it is, how does it work? Well, let's start first by talking about how it doesn't work and what social selling isn't. So, social selling is not just generating leads from advertising, it's not just getting people into that pipeline. Social selling is not posting and praying that people are going to buy from you. What social selling is intentionally, and this is why most people don't want to do it, it's intentionally starting up and nurturing conversations with qualified buyers and qualifying them to get them to purchase from you. Okay, social selling is the art of essentially having a sales conversation and engaging in meaningful direct message exchanges, likes and comments in groups and on posts. It's following up and making sure that there is a conversation happening, therefore selling, right? That's what sales is on social media. Social media is essentially the vehicle that we are selling through. Most people don't want to do this because it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes getting out of our comfort zone. Because whether we like it or not, it can be very, very uncomfortable to try to sell people online and try to have those conversations. And that's completely normal and okay if you're starting. But what we want to do is make this really, it is one of the most effective vehicles for you to get your sales. It's how really, when I look at the last week, everyone usually will ask outside of the online space, right? Ashley, how did your company grow so quickly? And really, it grew through social selling by engaging people and going after people online. That's the other key. You have to go after people when it comes to social selling. So, what is the magic framework? How do we do this for online business, right? Everyone wants to know, what's the magic pill that I can take to make this possible and make this effective in my business? Here's the secret. There's no magic pill. I know that we would like to believe that there is. I know that we like to believe there's a proven framework, right? And there are definitely avenues that we use internally that can help make this more efficient. But the truth of the matter is, the most important thing that you can do when it comes to social selling is just do it, because it's going to look differently based on the price of your offer, the type of your offer. The higher the offer, the more touch points that are probably going to be needed to close someone and to qualify them too. So, how do we do this on a consistent basis? Number one, the first step that we want to take is to identify who our prospect is, right? Ideal client avatar. Not going to spend time there because I'm assuming if you're in this group and you're in this community that you probably know who your ideal client avatar is. So we're going to go ahead and skip right past that. But that's number one. Number two, that we're going to skip over really quickly is, where is your ideal client hanging out, right? Which platform are they on? We've got a ton of trainings that are on that. So I'm going to skip through those. So number one, who's your client? Number two, where are they hanging out and what platform they're hanging on? Now, where we're going to spend time is the following steps, because number three, when you determine which platform they're on, the third question to ask in the part of the process is, how does your ideal client engage on that platform, right? Chances are it's not by posting content. Okay. How do they engage? How do you have a one-to-one conversation that feels intentional on that platform? Most often, it's going to be, if you're on Facebook, right? The big three: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn are what I would call the big three. If it's on Facebook, is it a group or is it a Facebook message? Is it your type of client, the kind of person that wants to add you as a friend on Facebook and you follow up through each other's content that way? Is your ideal client someone that you need to start a conversation with on Messenger? Same with Instagram. If your ideal client's on Instagram, is that person more active in stories or in the direct messages, right? LinkedIn, are they in any LinkedIn groups? Probably not. They're probably engaging in the feed. So how can your content captivate them? You want to think through not only what platform are they on, but how did they engage with the platform? Because your job as a successful social seller is to meet them where they're at and to begin conversations on their turf. The analogy that I like to give in prospecting is that when you're playing any sports team, right, there's a home team and then there's an away team. And so anytime someone that comes out and reaches out to you and wants to connect with you, and they go through your application form, they reach out to book a call on your website, they email you directly because you were referred to them, that's your home turf. That's your playing field. Okay. When you're in the home team, you set the stakes. You know where all the equipment is. You know where all kind of the process and how you set up and how you start that game, right? But when you're social selling and when you're reaching out and you're prospecting to cold prospects that are not in your ecosystem, right? We've got cold outreach and then we've got inbound prospects. Inbound is when they come into your ecosystem. Cold prospecting is when they're not familiar. When you're cold prospecting, and what social selling typically is you're playing on the away team. You're going to that prospect's home turf, right? You're the visitor, you're the visiting team. And so you need to get acclimated on, okay, when I go to play this person, where are they at on this field, right? Where do they typically, when you're playing somebody and you're the away team, okay, where is my I can't even think this morning. Where's the dugout, right? If it's a baseball game and you're on the away baseball team and you're going to play another team on their home turf, where is the dugout? Where do I need to put my equipment? When I get there, where do I need to set up? Like, how do I basically meet them and get comfortable on this away field? Those are the same kind of things that need to be going through your mind when you're social selling, because you're on the away team. You, as the visiting team, are going to play on someone else's turf. And so you need to recognize and meet them where they're at and say, okay, where do they do this? Where do they do that? Because what you're doing, it's not diminishing your value, right? It's not lessening your equal business stature. I talk about that a lot in my in my group coaching program, right? You want to establish equal business stature. So you're not putting yourself as less than when you're acting from the visiting team. What you're doing is you're removing barriers to meet them where they're at. Okay. You want to be like this. Now, anytime the business relationship starts to have one person elevated and one declined, right? It's not a mutual exchange of services. You both want to at all times be right here on the same level. And so what you need to do from a social selling perspective is remove the barriers, remove the things that could get in the way. It's no longer your way or your process. When you're coming in and you have leads coming in inbound on your home turf, you get to control and dictate that process and guide them through. But again, how presumptuous, the number one mistake that I see in social selling and cold outreach is great. Here I am. Let's say that I'm reaching out to a potential coaching client that we can run ads for. How presumptuous. This person has no idea who I am. They don't know me. They don't like me. They don't trust me. And I'm reaching out to them when they have no knowledge. I don't even know if they're qualified. And I'm like, hey, so and so, why don't you book a time on my calendar? I can help you. How presumptuous is that? Right? I haven't even qualified if they have a need. I don't even know if they can buy from me, right? What we're doing when we're coming in as the OA team is we're trying to get a feel for where things are. We're trying to assess on our social selling. Okay, is this person a good fit or not? Should I reach out this way, or how are they engaging this way, or what are they typically thinking through when it comes to their own sales cycle? Those are the kind of things that we need to think through when we're social selling. So that starts in the DMs. So step one, send them a message that's going to be kind of a message to just qualify and to check in and introduce yourself, right? Hey, I'm Ashley from Anya. I'm so excited. I wanted to connect with you because say something personal that stuck out, right? And try and end in a question to get them to respond because you want to have a two-way conversation. You don't want to just spam them and say, hi, I'm Ashley. Hi, I'm Ashley. Hi, right? You want to get them to respond. So end in a question. Then the next step is asking in a way that doesn't sound canned. What do you do? Who do you serve? Like, what's important to you? Like, tell me more than what's just on your bio. Like, what is it that you do? So, starting that conversation. And then the next step is to kindly, and you want to reciprocate, right? You want to be able to share information because you don't want this to feel like an interrogation when it comes to social selling. And then finally, you want to be able to qualify to see if there's a need for what you do. Spoiler alert, there may not be a need for what you do, and that's okay. Do not, I repeat, do not try to shove your service down someone's throat or to create a need that doesn't exist. You want to ask questions that ask if they have problems to solve. And if your service falls into a way that you can solve that problem, only then do you extend an invitation to be able to help them. Okay. You will not be able to help everybody, and that's okay. There's plenty of prospects out in the prospecting sea or in the prospecting river and current, as I would like to call it, that you can go fish for, right? Think of it like you're fishing in that current. Social selling is that current, okay? And there are a bunch of fish coming through that current. And if that tree falls, right? There are going to be fish that know how to swim under or swim around that tree. But what you're doing when you're social selling is if that tree falls, you're looking and you're trying to find the fish that are stuck at that junction, which is the problem that you're solving. So when you're social selling, you are fishing and you're trying to reel in and catch fish that may or may not be able to make it without your help. Some of them, maybe they just haven't found it yet and they're not at the point where they can swim around it, or maybe they're not ready to swim past that. Maybe they know at the end of that junction is something that they're not ready for. So they just kind of want to chill out where they're at. They're comfy and they're cozy. Right? But you want to be fishing and looking for the fish they know that they're ready for what comes on the other side of whatever this roadblock or this tree that's blocking the current may be. But you're looking and you're trying to catch the fish. You reel in, you catch, and you figure out, okay, is this the fish that the fish that I'm looking for, right? Or not? And then you just throw it back in, and that's okay. And some of the fish that you throw back in may hang out there for a little bit while. They're not ready to swim under the current yet, or over wherever it may be, right? Sorry for this crazy analogy. But you just throw those back in, and guess what? They may, if they're still not ready, they may not know that they need you yet. And you may throw your line back in and catch them again and be like, oh, cool, now you're ready. Great. And the beautiful thing about that is you didn't ruin it by shoving your services down their throat in a way that they didn't even need. That when you catch that fish again, maybe they've grown a little bit. They're a bigger fish that you can kind of take home, and to be able to enjoy, right? So all of that to say, think of it like fishing. You are really looking for the right people that you can truly help. And if you can approach social selling or selling in general from the perspective of solving problems, I promise you the whole sleazy sales mentality will completely dissolve. Because if you can take scarcity out of your mindset when it comes to selling, if you can take having to close X amount of sales to hit your goal and instead replace that with, is this somebody that has a problem that I can solve? And if so, is my solution right for them at this time? Then selling's a no-brainer because all you're doing is helping people. And that's what social selling is. You are using social media as the medium to be able to assess whether or not you can solve someone's problem. All right. That is all I have for you today. I would love for you, of course, to let us know, what questions did you have? What did you find valuable? What about this training was really helpful? Was it an analogy? Was it a tactic? But your action step for this week is to figure out, okay, not only like who's my person, right? You should know the answer to that. And if you don't, I can give you a training on that. Where is my person hanging out? If you don't, can give you a training on that. But most importantly, your action item is to figure out how is the person that I want to sell to engaging with the platform? And what process do I need to put in place to have those conversations so that I can reach out to them? All right. I would love it if you'd comment or send me an email at hello@onyamark.com and tell me what you're going to do. Comment if you've got any questions. And I cannot wait to be back in touch with you next week for our next training. All right. Talk soon, everyone. On your mark, get set,